the Miami Heat versus the Chicago Bulls. The winner of this game will push their way into the final spot of the Eastern Conference playoffs. So, in this video, I'm going to be going through and breaking down all these stats of teams, players, everything you will need to know about this game so we can make an educated decision on who we believe is going to win, and so that we know everything that we can before this game starts tomorrow night. So, let's not waste any more of your time. Let's go and get right into things. The first thing I want to talk about is going to be team stats. We're going to go through the major statistical categories comparing the Chicago Bulls versus the Miami Heat, with the first team, the first ranking, going to be the Bulls. Second ranking will be the Miami Heat. First, let's go ahead and start with the points. The Bulls rank 22nd, slightly below average, but the Heat are 30th. Although the Bulls have struggled their fair share with scoring points, the Heat are the last in the entire league. Now, it hasn't held them back that much since they are still in the race for the playoffs, but being last definitely has a dramatic effect on things. Hopefully, that's something the Bulls should be able to take advantage of. And although they're not excellent, they still have a fair lead on comparatively the worst scoring team in the league. Next, you have field goal percentage. The Bulls rank 4th, and of course it's going to be coming because they take a lot of short-range shots. They're not a three-point shooting team. They actually take the least in the entire league. And for the Heat, they're 26th in field goal percentage. Like I said, scoring for the Heat is something they've struggled with a lot this year, and whether that's because of injuries, losing their point guard in Kyle Lowry, or whatever it may be, they have struggled in scoring. 26th in field goal percentage. For three-point shooting, the Bulls 16th, right in the middle. The Heat are 27th. They don't really have a whole lot of shooters. I mean, you look at their roster, they have Tyler Hero. You know, they do have guys that can shoot for them. Maybe not at an excellent level, but at least at a fair number. But outside of that, you take a look. I mean, Jimmy Butler's not really a guy known for his three-point shooting. Kyle Lowry, I mean, not really. Bam. You know, they don't have guys that are known for the three-point shooting. So them at 27th could be a major thing. If they play to that level, that's going to, help the Bulls out a lot, who aren't taking a whole lot of shots, as long as the Heat are knocking these down. Because if the Heat knock them down and they shoot above their expectancy and the Bulls only shoot the amount that they're normally used to, the Heat could put up some good numbers. I mean, that's something we constantly see. It seems like every time the Bulls go up a team against pretty much any team, they make more threes than expected because the Bulls' defense is a little bit lackadaisical on the closeout at some points. So that's something that we need to kind of, pay attention to, is that three-point shooting percentage along the way. Now you have rebounds. Bulls are 22nd. The Heat are 27th. The Bulls have a major help from, Andre Drummond coming off the bench, getting a whole lot of rebounds for you. But as for the Heat, it's kind of surprising that they're that low on this list. I mean, Bam is really good. Now, they don't really have a, big-time center behind him. I mean, you look at this roster, their next center is going to be, Cody Zeller, and then they have Dwayne Dedmon. Although, is Dedmon injured? I don't remember. Or no, he got traded. That's what it was. So they really only have, Cody Zeller. They also have Kevin Love, but he is more of your power forward for this team, I'd say, for the most part. And, you're just not getting a whole lot from the center position, at least rebounding from the Miami Heat. As for assists, the Bulls are 20th. The Heat are 25th. We're kind of seeing a trend here. Although the Heat ended with a better record, they, for the most part, have worse statistics, especially offensively. Now, that's not everything, and we'll have to dive a little bit deeper into this in a second here, but that is something you have to kind of pay attention to. Steals, Bulls are 7th. The Heat are 6th, so they have a little bit of a leg up here. Just a little bit, but one nonetheless. For blocks, the Bulls are 19th. The Heat are last in the entire league at 30th. And the final stat here is going to be defensive rating. The Bulls are 5th. This team, the Bulls, kind of a surprise to be this high, especially with the fact that, Lonzo Ball didn't play. If you told me Lonzo Ball was going to play this whole year, and you also mentioned they were going to be 5th in defense rating, I wouldn't believe you. Now, of course, they have Alex Caruso, you bring in Pat Bev, so that's a major factor in things. For the Heat, they're 9th, which definitely feels right, and I think they would have been higher if they would have stayed healthy. I mean, Kyle Lowry, I think many of us kind of expect him to be a good defender. Jimmy Butler, one of the best in the league. Bam pretty solid if I remember correctly. He's got a good share of blocks, or steals, I should say, 1.8 steals from Jimmy. You got Bam has 1.2 as well as 0.8 blocks. This team pretty solid defensively, and they rank 9th. So overall, the Bulls do have a pretty decent leg up when it comes to overall team stats. When we take a look at things, out of the stats I brought here, and of course these are most of the major stats. You could pick and choose some other ones to make it look a little bit closer, but from the major stats, the Miami Heat only are a better team statistically in one of these categories, and it's steals, and they're only one spot better. That is kind of something that you're going to have to take a look at here. Now, if we take a look at some of these player stats, the Heat versus the Bulls seem like very, very different teams on paper. But I kind of feel like they're pretty similar here. You have kind of a big three that works really, really well sometimes and struggles really, really, often. There is lots of ups and downs with both of these teams. The Heat, Jimmy Butler, Bam, and then either Tyler Hero or Kyle Lowry would be like their big three. The Bulls, of course, Vooch, DeMar, and Zach LaVine. They both have a big three. These guys aren't big-time three-point shooting teams. These guys aren't going to go crazy getting rebounds from you. Their defense can be a major help for them, and they have what it takes to score offensively, but it does kind of come from the main guys here. You take a look at the Heat, you got Jimmy Butler, Bam, and Tyler Hero all over 20 points. Then the next closest is 11.5 from Max Strus. You look at the Bulls on the other side of things. Zach LaVine, 24.8, DeMar, 24.5, and then Vooch at 17.6, and then you drop down to 10.2 is your next closest. You kind of have a big three, and that's the major factor in this. So I want to say, before we go a little bit, deeper into some of this stuff here, I want to say the defense is probably going to be the biggest factor in this. And of course, offensively, it's going to feel like the offense is the most important. If one guy goes crazy, that's going to feel like the most important. But you got to stop and look at how some of these things match up. Jimmy Butler probably going to go on DeMar DeRozan. I think that's pretty fair there. You have Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams is probably going to go on, Jimmy Butler. I'd assume Patrick Williams is a huge factor in the win last night over the Raptors. And then after that, Zach LaVine, Kyle Lowry probably guarding Zach LaVine. You'd assume so because he's a little bit better defender, or probably the best option for you there. Now, who's going to guard Kyle Lowry? Because he is, he can score. He just scored 33 against the Heat, or against the Hawks. He was the highest scorer in the game for the Heat. And then Tyler Hero had 26, and I think Jimmy Butler had 21. They have guys that can score. Let's not forget how good Kyle Lowry really is. Now, he was dealing with injuries, so maybe not showing as much. And, who's really going to put up that defensive threat there down on the block against, Bam? Bam's pretty solid defender here, putting up 20.4 points per game. Is Vooch going to be able to keep up with that? I think he can, but will he? That's kind of a big question. Now, we look at the rest of some of these stats here. The leader in rebounds, Bam Adebayo in 9.2. This is all Heat stats. Assists, Jimmy Butler 5.3. That does feel a little bit odd. I kind of expected someone more of a guard position to get that, whether it's Tyler Hero or Kyle Lowry. But nonetheless, Jimmy Butler doing pretty solid there. And, Kyle Lowry's not far behind with 5.1. Steals, Jimmy, not really a doubt there, 1.8. And 0.8 is the best blocks for the Heat, and that's going to be Bam Adebayo. And then, Kyle Lowry only averaged 11.2, just scored 33. I think that could be a little bit wild card. Victor Oladipo, I don't know what's going on with him because he played last game, but he didn't score at all. He could kind of become a threat a little bit off the, move him rotations through against some of the bench guys here. He could be a little bit of an issue. You look for the Bulls, of course. Zach leader in points, Vooch in rebounds with 11. Assists goes to DeMar DeRozan with 5.1. Steals, Alex Caruso 1.5, and Patrick Williams 0.9 in blocks. Like I'm saying, I think this really feels like it's going to be a defensive-heavy kind of game. Now, you might have a guy that goes off for you. You saw Kyle Lowry had 33, Zach LaVine had 39 in the most recent games here. And I think that Zach LaVine's probably going to still have a pretty solid game here. Pretty close to 30. I think DeMar is going to have, a little bit more of an impact than he did in last night's game, it kind of felt like at times DeMar wasn't that important for the Bulls. I think he'll have a little bit more of an impact. And I think Vooch is going to be a big factor. How does he go up against Bam? How does that all work out? And just kind of getting things rolling. I wouldn't be too surprised if Vooch was used a little bit more outside of the paint, at least offensively speaking. But defense can be a huge thing. Patrick Williams needs to step up to the plate. Of course, likely to be guarding Jimmy Butler. I feel pretty good about that. Jimmy Butler is probably going to be guarding like DeMar DeRozan. Again, Jimmy Butler, probably one of the best defenders in the league. I miss him on the Bulls, and I think that's going to be kind of a big factor. Again, DeMar DeRozan, get it rolling even against a really, really good defender in that regard. That's going to be a huge factor in how this game kind of goes. But, that's it. I'm really excited for this game. Of course, it's win or go home for both of these teams. You're going to end up with that final seed in the playoffs, and then you're going to take it from there. But what do you guys think? Who do you think is going to win this game, and who do you think is going to be the reason for it? Who's going to be the MVP of the winning team? Comment all that down below. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And if you want to see more content like this, more Bulls content, whether that is, off-season or playoffs, and also NBA content as a whole, I'm going to be covering the playoffs as they go on, whether the Bulls are in or not. If you want to see more like that, please subscribe. And as always, I hope it's awesome today. Hope it made you smile, but that's something really important to me. Affects my day in a great way, because every single day can be a great day if we all just put in the effort. And as always, you guys all be safe out there.